Starbeams. What we are doing today is we are doing spiritual coaching. And so if you have something that you're currently going through, a problem or a challenge that you're facing, or is there something you want to know more about in spirituality or life, okay, you can ask your questions here in the comments and then I will answer them to the best of my abilities, okay? And if it's your first time meeting me, my name is Sage. I'm an expansion coach and an energy healer. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, so the replay will be up there, remember to hit that like and subscribe button so you know when new videos come out, new content comes out. And you can leave your comments in the description down here below as well. Oh, thank you for the follow, Pixie Dust. I appreciate that. Okay. Separated for 2 years now. How do I stop my mind from replaying what he said? Okay, so let's talk to Barbara here. So I'm going to ask you a question. So did he say something to you that cut at like your self-worth and your confidence? Is that what you're saying? That's how I'm interpreting it. But if you can give me a little bit more information. Yes, he was very baited. Oh, hateful. Okay. Okay. So very hateful. Okay. So when people say things about us, you know, sometimes they're saying things to get under your skin, especially if they are a narcissist. Not saying that's what they are, okay, but it's giving indications there. And you're probably an empath. That's probably why you drew them in the first place. So doing some self-discovery work about why we pull people in like that. Maybe you don't anymore, but I used to pull people in like that too. And they like to pull on your energy, tug on your energy, because that's how they revitalize themselves. Does that make sense? Because they don't know how to process their own emotions. So they will try and use you as a way to feel things. Does that make sense? And so anytime that somebody says something like that to us, you have to ask yourself, do I believe that about myself? Because the only reason that we get triggered because of the things that people say to us is because we slightly believe it, right? So doing some digging around there of like, do I actually think that's true? Do I think it's absolutely true? Or maybe it was true. Like maybe he was saying things that were like a past narrative of you. I don't know how long y'all are together, but sometimes like when you're on a spiritual awakening journey, which I'm sure you are if you're here, okay? But if you're on a spiritual awakening journey, like not everybody is going to come with you, right? And you might be on a completely different consciousness. And so sometimes that's really triggering too. 23 years married, right? So you're growing and evolving and changing as a person. And so if he's not on that same trajectory or was on that same trajectory, he's probably looking at you through the lens of you 23 years ago, right? Like I got out of a relationship like that where I was really young when we got together and he was a lot older than me. And as I went on my spiritual awakening journey, I started changing into a completely different person, and I didn't match the narrative that he had over me anymore. And so couldn't come with me, right? But I would ask self, like, why do I believe those things that he was saying are true, or were they true because of who I used to be? Which if that's the case, which I don't know if it is, just, you know, intuitively picking up on that, where can we forgive ourselves and not hold shame and guilt over like past behaviors? Because the past is not even real anymore. It is like those things happen, but you're probably carrying a lot of weight as if they are still your current reality, which you can choose to be a new identity in any moment. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we take those things that he said and dissect that of, is that representative of who I am today? Because what it sounds like is you probably have like a past version, there's like a younger version of you in that marriage that is still hurting very deeply because y'all were, you know, together for such a long time. She, that past version of you, is probably holding on to a narrative of him. I would suggest, because how long have y'all been split up now? Or divorced or separated? $2 years. Okay, so that's a long enough time to where this version of you, like you're separate from her, if that makes sense, right? So having a conversation with her to explain to her why he couldn't come with you on this journey, right? And that you were probably very triggering because you are consciously evolving and maybe he wasn't on that same track, right? So you chose yourself in that scenario, which is like a beautiful thing. I know that's very hard and difficult because I had to leave a relationship like that. It was very, you know, tumultuous. But at the end of the day, like you did what was best for you and your journey and your life path, right? So it's not you necessarily that's holding on to that pain. That's PTSD in your body from that identity that you're pulling away from. So we can have a conversation with her and be like, hey, I know that was a really difficult time in our life, but holding on to like shame or guilt or feelings that the things that he was saying were true. Well, let's talk about why we think they're true. But then also we can't hold all these negative feelings about self because that's not allowing us to move forward. I feel good and I'm forgetting all, then just out of the blue, I'll wait until you answer for the last bit of there. That's what I'm saying. When you have random things like that come up, it's because there's PTSD in your body that hasn't been processed. Mind will remember him saying taking medicine will help him stay. Yeah, we've got PTSD in our body that hasn't been processed. That's why consciously you're good. You're like, I'm fine. I get it. Like, I understand why it didn't work and why we had to move in the separate paths. But that PTSD that's in here, that's those memories tied up with like emotions. And if that's tied in with your self-worth and your confidence, let's just say like on a random Tuesday, okay, something happens that triggers your self-confidence and your self-esteem. If you have PTSD that's sitting in here from that relationship that hasn't been processed, if you have something that triggers your self-esteem and confidence over here that has nothing to do with him at all, it can bring up that stuff because it's similar energetics. Like, that's why sometimes, like, I'll be fine, and then something will trigger something that happened in childhood that looks similar, and all of a sudden I'll start having these memories start to come up. And I'm like, why are these things coming up? It's because it's unprocessed PTSD stuff. And so talking to this version of you, like even writing her a letter, like even if you're not on that, or in that space in your journey where you're going in and like talking to your inner children, your past versions, like writing her a letter, like that old identity of yourself can help you move forward. It's almost like, I don't know how deep you are into like higher self, but like you're the mentor to her, right? So helping her release those things. Yeah, I think it'd be really beneficial to write a letter to her and just explain and tell her how much you love her and how proud you are of her. Because like when I left that relationship I was in, it was a lot. It was not a great relationship, but I still love that person, even though it was very toxic, and even though it was the best decision and they couldn't come with me on that journey, it still hurt and there was still a grieving process. And it took a long time to not be triggered, right? And come out of that, what you're currently experiencing. So like the more that you talk to her, you can help her process through that stuff because you're out of it. But you still need to move, like emotions and PTSD don't just go away. Like you got to process through that stuff together. So it can come up and come out. I'm going through the same thing. I feel like I'm in a karmic relationship. Yeah, sometimes we get in karmic relationships because they're supposed to be mirrors, right? Oh, you're welcome, Barbara. Do you feel like that helped? Hopefully that helps you. I would definitely try the letter. Sometimes okay, good. Sometimes we get in the karmic relationships because they're supposed to be mirrors. That's why, I don't really talk about twin flames that much because as a collective, we kind of shifted to a different timeline, where we're not so twin flame focused, but like, you're not always supposed to be with your quote unquote twin flame. Like, people are coming into your life sometimes to trigger you into becoming the person that you're meant to become. Like that relationship that I was in, it was a narcissistic, abusive relationship. And looking at my life in totality, I can see where it forged me into becoming the person that I am today. Right? Because that was a karmic relationship. Was it great while we're going through it? No. But in retrospect, like, both of us have done like an immense amount of healing together, right? Even outside of the relationship. And now we're really great co-parents with one another. So I was actually supposed to come in and help him get on his journey. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes karmic relationships can be like really rough, and then sometimes not. Sometimes they're really great as well. Okay. If y'all want to put your questions in the comments, if you're currently going through something, you need some advice, or you want to know more about something in spirituality, you can put them in. I will answer them to the best of my ability. Hey Kat, how are you doing? It doesn't necessarily have to be relationship things. It could just be anything that y'all might want some extra guidance on this morning. I am doing well, thank you. How are you doing? I like the little blue hearts you have in there. I got this spiced apple drink at Tim Hortons earlier, and it is delicious. It's giving fall. Hello, welcome, welcome. Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Hey, Tabitha. Hey, good morning. Everybody popping in here. Good morning. Hey, Luna. If you are just popping in, we are doing spiritual coaching this morning. So you have something that you're currently working through in life that you need some extra advice or guidance on. That is what this session is for today. So you can put it in the comments and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Oh, thank you all for liking the live. I appreciate you. Thank you, Tabitha. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, healing. Okay, and then I'll get to the imposter syndrome. Laura, what questions do you have around healing? Because healing's a very like broad topic. If there's something like specifically you had questions about imposter syndrome and then karmic relationships. Okay. I'll make a note over here so I remember. Okay. With the karmic relationships, I'll answer that one because it's a shorter one. So karmic relationships sometimes are meant to end, right? Like karmic relationships are there to help you grow in some type of capacity, right? But if you back it up like on a further esoteric level, like everybody is you. You're everybody, everybody is you. So like on a grander scale, like that ending thing, it never really ends, right? It's just another reflection to help you evolve. Now, do sometimes like karmic lessons, like, or not karmic lessons, but karmic people like split from one another in this incarnation and they're done with like this contract here? For sure. Right? Because you learned what you needed to learn. Like I've had karmic relationships where I don't talk to those people anymore, but they're very different than like regular relationships, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to maybe meet them in a different lifetime, or you know, there's so many different layers to that. But you can definitely end it with somebody with that lesson, if that makes sense, because this is what karmic relationships are. There's like a lesson involved in it. I almost died and I'm here not knowing what to do or what I did before. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds very intense. Are you talking about your kind of soul purpose or like your soul mission? Or are you asking questions specifically about healing? Or are you in the healing process? Okay, so I get that sometimes from people like, oh, what's my soul mission and my soul purpose? And a lot of times people put like a lot of pressure on themselves to know what they're supposed to be doing here, right? So when you are coming from, hold on, I got thrown off by this question. Nick, if you stick around for a minute, I'll answer that, okay? So let me go back up, hold on. Okay, soul purpose and soul mission. Okay, so people put like an immense amount of pressure on themselves to know like what they're supposed to be doing here, and sometimes that's coming from an unworthiness place. It's like, if I don't have something that I'm working towards, then that means that I'm not good enough. So we need to check if that's where it's coming from, because if that is where it's coming from, that's a hamster wheel that you will forever be on. Like, it doesn't matter what you get into, that feeling of not enoughness will continue to be there. Okay, it doesn't really matter what the thing is. It's supposed to make you happy and get you in your joy. When we are hyper focusing and constricting on one thing being our purpose, it really closes the window of opportunities for a lot of other things to come in for you. Like, there was a time where I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, and I was going to school for that, and that was like my purpose and my mission. And I was so bent on making that happen that all of a sudden it started falling out of alignment, and I didn't know why, and I was miserable, and I was trying to force myself into my mission. And then one day I was like, you know what, I can't do that anymore. I just need to let it go. Okay, I don't know why, I just need to let it go. And then I ended up running a doggy daycare for like 7 years. Love that, it was great. That was my purpose and my mission. And then it started falling out of alignment, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I ended up becoming a coach and an energy healer. So like, all of those different things in my life were my mission and purpose right then, right? But if I had like constricted so far down on those things, I wouldn't be where I'm supposed to be right now. So you gotta ask yourself, like, what do I want to be doing right now? Okay, because you're your mission. Okay, you incarnated here to find the things that bring you happiness and joy, and to really lean into those, because I'm assuming that you're an empath and a light worker, and you're probably a very compassionate person. Sometimes empaths and light workers put so much weight into figuring out, like, what am I supposed to be doing here, when you don't owe anybody anything. You being yourself and shining your light and being in your magic is helping people naturally. Like, if you choose to do that professionally, great. Okay, but if not, you thriving in life helps everyone else in the collective in the world thrive, because you're coming from a healed space. Does that make sense? Like, if you are working on yourself and you're raising your vibration and frequency, and you're following the things that you enjoy and bring you lightness, everything around you becomes that too. All the people, the places, the things, like, it all rewires for your life to be on that type of life. But when we start putting in things of like deservingness and like thinking that we have to do things because we need to be a servant to the world or collective, right? That's not coming from the right energetics. Right? I'm learning the hard way. You'll be directed where to go. When you resist, more obstacles occur. Yeah, there's a spiritual teacher called Bashar, and he's like, hey, if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing and you have a couple different options out in front of you, follow the one that makes you slightly more happy. And I lived by that for a very long time, and it always leads me to the right path, because that's your intuition trying to lead and guide you. And sometimes, like, with your purpose and your passion, you don't know what it is, because a lot of times people aren't going after anything. Not you, okay? But like, they're sitting in their home, like, waiting for things to find them. You don't know what you like until you go out and look for things. But that means that you have to step outside of your comfortability zone, and a lot of people don't want to do that. Like, there's no growth and evolution in comfortability. If you do the same exact things, you get the same exact results. So it's like, I'll give you an example. I haven't talked about it yet, Nick. I'm going to in just a minute. When I was learning about energy healing, right, I didn't exactly know what I was going to do, but I just kept letting like myself lead myself down that path, right? And then all of a sudden I found Reiki, and I found the Akashic records, and like I found all these things, not intentionally looking for them, but listening to those like intuitive pings and letting my higher self like guide me to where I was supposed to go. But I had to actively like go out and seek new things, new opportunities, new experiences. I had to put myself in very uncomfortable situations. Like I had very low self-confidence and self-esteem, but I was like, oh, I want to be a coach. So I had to start making content, and I had to start like really pushing through that fear, because you can either be uncomfortable in a life that you hate, or you can be uncomfortable being bold and courageous and doing things that are new, because either way you're going to be uncomfortable. And so you just got to decide. Yes, the other Nick in here. Okay, yes. Okay, so I went to school for psychology. I worked in the mental health fields. I've also a program manager for a nonprofit for underserved youth. I am a certified Reiki master. I'm an Akashic record reader. And I've been coaching thousands of clients. So that is my background. So yes. Okay, so imposter syndrome. What are we experiencing imposter syndrome with? Because imposter syndrome is going to, and thank you for asking, Nick, I appreciate that. What are we experiencing imposter syndrome with? Because imposter syndrome can affect you in different ways with different things. I walked away from my calling to the old life of the known, and while I'm running back to my calling, I mean, you can go back to things and be a different person coming into it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's okay to put things down when you don't know how to figure things out. It doesn't mean that you are unworthy or you're a failure. Like sometimes you just hit your glass ceiling and you need to go do some other stuff while you figure out how to grow and evolve in different skills or consciousness. And then it'll come back around if it's meant to come back around. Like when I started learning about Reiki, I didn't get it. Like I did not understand how to conceptualize it. And I was like, you know what? This is not for right now. I really, really want to do this, but it's not clicking. And so I put it down for a year, and then I came back, and then, oh, there we go. Because I had all these other consciousness jumps and made all these other web connections, right? But if it's meant to come back around, it'll come back around. So I'm a psychic medium and a spiritual healer. Love. And I woke up one day feeling like it wasn't me, and it's like I shut it off. Okay. Psychic medium, spiritual healer. I woke up one day feeling like it wasn't me, and I shut it off. Okay. So how long ago was that? Was that more recent, and what have we been doing in the meantime? A year ago? Okay. Have you been doing some other type of like work since then? Do you feel like that you got do you feel like you got nervous with your abilities accelerating? Because sometimes we have a fear of persecution running in the background, or fear of being seen. Okay. Do you feel like it's a fear of being seen or a fear of persecution? Because sometimes those things will be running in our subconscious and we're not even like aware of it, and it's skewing the perception that we have of self. Literally just went away. Right. Well, there's a reason that it went away though. Like it sounds like something in your subconscious got scared by your own abilities. So sometimes like when I'm doing inner child healing with people and they have blocked Right. It might not be coming from your it might not be coming from your consciousness though. So when I'm doing one-on-one sessions with people and I'm talking to their inner children, sometimes their inner children are blocking their spiritual gifts because they were either told magic's not real, or you're going to go to hell if you participate in that, or if you watch TV and movies and you see where magic is being demonized. Sometimes those energetics are running in your subconscious and your inner children when they start to see how powerful you're getting, especially if you're an accelerated healer and it's going very quickly. Sometimes they will shut that stuff down. They will be like, don't do that, especially if you have that coupled with abandonment or trust wounds from childhood, because they're trying to keep you safe by blocking those things. They're trying to keep themselves safe. So I would go in, I got attacked by 9 different people in one day, and I stepped back for a week, woke up, and it's like it wasn't there. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like there was an event, not the 9 people necessarily, because that could have been part of it, but it sounds like it's something energetically running deeper with your inner children. And that's just something I'm intuitive, like we're not doing a reading right now, but intuitively, that's what I'm picking up on. Is that there's some piece of us in our subconscious that's saying like, hey, this might not be the area that we want to get in, and your subconscious or your inner children shut it down. Because I've seen it before, and I'm not saying that it's the same scenario for you, obviously, because you're a completely different person, but there was like an off switch that was hit. Because consciously you want to do it, right? Consciously you do. And it's not like your abilities just left. There was a trauma that happened. And I think that it's rooted back to something that happened in your childhood as well, is what I'm hearing, like from your higher self. Cass, I think I need your help with your inner child. Yeah, I specialize in inner child healing. I love helping people with their inner children. So if you want help with that, you can book a one-on-one and we can talk about it. Oh, you're welcome, Nick. Yeah, without knowing some more like ins and outs of like what happened during your process journey, I would have to give you more like specifics on that. I think that I don't know necessarily this imposter syndrome. I think it's a safety mechanism. If that makes sense. Or that's just what I'm feeling. Oh, thank you for the follow, Cass. I appreciate you. Do you feel like imposter syndrome is still coming up though? Because that's like a completely different thing. Okay. I think I covered all the questions I had here. Okay, yes. Okay. If y'all have more questions, you can put them in the comments and I will answer them. Or if you want advice. I'm gonna go make sure I didn't miss anything up here. Okay. Oh, thank y'all for liking the live. I appreciate you. How do you meditate and how often? Okay, so with any type of healing things like that, I don't ever prescribe like, hey, you need to be doing this specific thing every single day, because people need different things in their life because they have different energetics and different things that they've been through and different experiences. So like what might work for me might not work for you. The way I meditate is different than sitting down and being in my psyche, which I do that, but I do a lot of like active meditations. Like I'll be going on a walk and meditating, I'll be dancing and meditating, I'll be stretching and meditating. Meditating is not always about just sitting in stillness. It is being the higher observer of what is happening in your 3D life. So that's actually like, you can make your whole life a meditation. It's about detaching from the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and connecting to the deeper parts of your soul, right? So you can do that in any moment. it doesn't always have to be like sitting down in meditation. I wish somebody had told me that when I was at the beginning stages of my journey, because oftentimes, and I see y'all's questions, I'm going to get back to them. I wish somebody had told me that, because as somebody who's neurospicy, okay, neurodivergent, sometimes it's very difficult for you to sit in stillness because there's so many tabs running. Well, don't do that. Like, yeah, it is really good to learn how to do that, to cut the thoughts off. But if you're new to meditation, not saying that's you, Nick, but if you're newer to meditation, it's probably going to be better for you to do active meditations. Okay? Because when you're keeping your body moving, you can kind of zone out. Does that make sense? So like you can meditate while washing the dishes or riding your bike or dancing or whatever that is. It's distracting you enough to where you're not going down those thought holes, those rabbit holes, you know what I mean? And that's ultimately what meditation is trying to do. It's not trying to get rid of the thoughts, it's trying to teach you how to swipe the thoughts, okay? Because they're going to be there regardless. Sometimes people think that they are failing at meditation because they're like, oh, well, I can't clear my mind. You don't need to clear your mind. You need to learn how to detach from those thoughts that are coming up and just be like, okay, well, I see you. I'm not attaching to that. Because when you stop attaching to the thoughts, now you can connect to the higher version of you that is above those thoughts that you're thinking, those anxiety thoughts. That's what meditation is trying to get you to do. So however you choose to do that is great. Right? Because different vibes for different people. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up here. I love that your prices are reasonable. Usually can't afford self-care. Oh, good. Okay. Okay, Cass. Yeah, you just let me know and then we can set something up. I offer payment plans too. So if that's what works best for you, I will always offer that. Okay. What is the difference between spirit and soul? I don't know. I don't know, because that's going to be a different definition for everybody. I think that we all have like these different parts of ourselves. Like we have our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, and our spiritual body. To me, the spirit and the soul are very intertwined with one another. But then you kind of get into different incarnations, because like different incarnations of you have different chakra systems. They also have different mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies. And all of those different bodies need different things. Like your mental body needs different things than your emotional body, right? But when we're talking about spirit and soul, I think that those are very closely and intertwined with one another. So to me, there's less separation between those than the other ones, if that makes sense. In spirit, I could also see spirit being like, this is my spirit in this incarnation, because it's very intertwined with my persona and my personality and my experiences and my perceptual lenses. So that's how I would describe it. Like spirit is my perceptual lenses of this incarnation, and my soul is the totality of who I am. Is how I would describe that. That's a great question. I love that. I have never been asked that before. And y'all, I'm getting to the questions. I'm just gonna go in line here, okay? I'm feeling heavy energy lately. It's so sporadic. I feel like everything is ending in my life. Okay, yes. So there are a lot of people that are going through very heavy timeline shifting energy right now. Like a lot of people. It is the collective shift that we had recently, and a lot of people just woke up on their spiritual awakening journey. And a lot of us who have been on the path, which I'm assuming you are per your username up here, that have been on the path for like a hot minute, we had all of these like very set out plans of what we were going to be doing. Okay, even it like subconsciously, or like with your multidimensional self saying like, oh, this is a plan. And then all that stuff kind of got chunked out the window. And there are a lot of people going through tower moments right now, me included. And that is because we are shifting into this completely new state of being and paradigm, and what we thought was going to happen. And this is just my experience based on my clients and stuff. So y'all, you know, use your intuition and discernment while you're listening to these things, okay? Because different realities for different people. But a lot of people are or were thinking that they were going to have a very set out plan, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because that's how we've been doing things energetically. But this new paradigm is like, nope, there's no plan. You're literally the creator of your reality, and so you need to step into that. It's like it can be whatever you want it to be, and that's a very scary place to be. Especially if in this human incarnation you have experienced a lot of trauma, because safety and security might be your biggest core wounding. And so control is a way to combat safety and security. But control is what we are shifting away from. Like, nobody wants to be in that type of life where you're like hyper fixated on controlling yourself and your environment. We want to be in the flow state and things come to us easily and effortlessly, and we understand that we create what's around us. And so when you step into that, you have a lot more power over self and your reality, right? But that, again, that's a scary place to be, because it almost feels like you don't have a safety net, but you're learning that you're your safety net. So it's like a restructuring in your internal experience with the new paradigm, and that's causing anxiety with a lot of people. And because you're an empath and a light worker, you're probably picking up on the global grid, psychic grid, and so you're probably picking up on everybody else's anxiety as well, which is going to amplify your own, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's really good to, and I had to learn to do this and still do this to this day, okay, is when I feel an overwhelming sense of anxiety and like doom and gloom and like all that stuff, if you can just take a second to say, is this mine or is this the collective's? Sometimes you can detach from it, okay, and be like, oh yeah, I remember I'm an empath and a light worker, and I'm probably just picking up on a lot of anxiety, especially if you're a grid worker. Hopefully this resonates with other people. If you're a grid worker, collective grid worker, you are feeling the anxiety from people who just woke up, because those are the people you're going to be helping. Those are people that are going to need people to guide them. So as their teacher and their guide, in whatever capacity that looks like for you, whether it's your friends or your clients or whatever you decide to do, community leader, you have to feel those things to understand. But to dissipate some of that a little bit, we can say, hey, I don't think all of this stuff is mine. Especially when you just get hit with like a random wave of like weird wonky feelings. Remember, you are a global healer, okay? So in order to heal the globe, okay, you have to feel what is going on energetically. But it can be very overwhelming. So that's why you have to make sure that, like empaths and light workers, like you have to make sure that you're grounding your energy and realize that just because other people are working through things and experiencing stuff does not mean that you are. That was a big thing that I had to realize with myself as a healer and a coach. What I would do at the beginning stages is do sessions with people, okay, or talking to your friends or whatever, okay, and you're interpreting what they're telling you and you're running it through your system and saying, oh, maybe this is me too. Maybe I'm dealing with this stuff. Maybe these are my self-limiting beliefs. Maybe these are my problems. When you've already done work through that stuff, okay? It has nothing to do with you, but you're so empathic that you're wanting to shift back into old identities to relate to them. Well, that keeps you at old identities. So we need to hold like a very strong energetic boundary and saying, that's not my stuff. The collective stuff is not all my stuff. Some of it might be, and some of it's not, right? So we got to separate away from that, because otherwise you'll just be there too. Right? This is for people that know that you have already worked through this stuff. Okay, and there's some people that are still actively in it, right? But I'm talking to the people that are like, no, I already went through that. I should not be experiencing this. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, I know y'all been leaving like mad comments in here, so I'm gonna try and read them, okay? This highly resonates. Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, because sometimes you think it's something wrong with you, and then the shame and guilt comes on, and you're like, I did all this work. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thank you for the follow. Michaela Porter. My last name used to be Porter, actually. Okay. The shame and guilt started to come on and all this stuff, and that is a self-confidence thing that needs to be checked. You know what I mean? Because it's like, no, I already did that. We're already through that phase. But understanding how the collective grid works will help you detach from that stuff. Right? So next time you go have conversations with your friends, because I'm sure you have some like high vibe friends, because I have to get up on that, or like community, is when you're talking to people, after you get done having a conversation with them, debrief yourself and be like, what part of that, like if you feel triggered walking away from somebody, is that something I actually need to check within myself, or is that something that they're going through and I'm just empathic? Because we don't need to be doing double the amount of shadow work. Okay. I love that you love them and you want to help them, but you cannot absorb their stuff if you've already been through that, because it'll keep you at those old timelines, right? So you can practice that with your conversations that you have with people, just moving forward, to kind of help you filter out what's mine, what's theirs. Okay, I'm gonna go back up because I missed a whole bunch of stuff here. Yeah, same. I have to meditate when I'm walking, cleaning, or doing my hair. Yeah. Okay. What do you do when you are feeling a lot of ascension symptoms? Rest, push through it, or I've had a lot hit me this past weekend. Yeah, ascension symptoms can be really rough. Okay, I'm not a medical doctor, so I want to be kind of like wary when I talk, not wary, but like, if you are experiencing what you think is ascension symptoms, okay, it might be, but it also might be you need to go to the doctor. Okay, so I want to say that disclaimer before we get into this, because if you are further into your journey, you know what ascension symptoms are, and you know what the difference is. It's like you are spiritually sick. It does affect your physical body, okay, but it's different than being actual sick. But if you're newer to your journey, it's better to be safe than sorry, okay? So if you're on Google looking up ascension symptoms, you're like, oh, it's fine. Like, disclaimer, okay? So with me, with ascension symptoms, my thing is, like, ascension symptoms are coming on typically when you're ready for an energy upgrade or a frequency upgrade, and your multidimensional self is on like a whole nother accelerated fast track, and your body is heavier and dense, and it takes time to catch up. So it's like your multidimensional self's over here and your physical vessel is like here. Okay. So what we don't want to do is rush our physical body, because you got to imagine, like, if you're getting a frequency upgrade and you're shifting identities, especially if you had just like consciously decided to quantum jump, okay, for my quantum jumpers, you cannot force your body when it's not ready, because it will get worse and worse and worse, those are the symptoms, okay? Because you got to imagine, like, I am changing on a DNA cellular level. This is not just like, oh, we're on a new timeline, okay? And that's not at you, Tabitha, because I know you know what we're talking about, but it's not just like, oh, we're in a new life. Is you are getting re-encoded through your whole entire physical being. Like, when we are removing trauma from our body, you are literally becoming a different person, because you are not looking through those perceptual lenses anymore. Your consciousness, like, and you know, a lot of your persona and all those things come with you, but like all the past narratives and behavioral patterns and triggers and PTSD and all that stuff, like when that stuff comes out, you're like a butterfly coming out, okay? Like a butterfly that just went through like a metamorphosis process, right? It came out of the cocoon. But your physical vessel like needs time to like implement that. It's like, you know, like when you, I was having this conversation with my son last night, and he's all about like working out and being buff and swole and stuff, but he doesn't like to sleep. He want to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I'm like, you got school. And I'm like, hey man, you realize that you need to sleep in order for your muscles to get bigger. okay, because that's when you're doing cell regeneration. I was like, if you want to get jacked, you need to get sleep. Okay, but it's the same thing for your physical vessel while it's going through these activations. So rest when you're going through ascension symptoms, highly recommend that. And rest looks different for different people. Like my rest is still kind of like active rest. You know what I mean? So if that's you and you're like a very and Tabitha, I know you are, but if anybody in here, if you're a very like motivated, high achieving like person, right, and it's very difficult for you to rest, you can do things that are like make a list of very low energy activities that still give you forward movement. Because when you feel like trash, you forget what those things are. And then you start to beat yourself up and berate yourself because you're not making the forward movement that you want. So like set yourself up for success by creating a list of activities that you can do when you feel very low energy, low vibe, and your body is going through the ascension things. Like instead of me, you know, doing a live or doing like, you know, whatever, maybe I lay on the bed with something on Netflix and I work on my website. You know what I mean? So that way I can still feel like I was doing something, but it's not pushing my body past the threshold of exhaustion, right? And doing a lot of self-care things, because a lot of times ascension symptoms, especially right now, are coming with, hey, we need to slow down and take care of ourselves because we haven't done that in a long time. And we're all very burnt out and exhausted. So what seems like there's such a stigma around self-care and rest as far as like, oh, well, you know, you're lazy or you're not doing anything. And that's not y'all. That is not us. Okay? We are all very self-aware beings and we're constantly working on ourselves and trying to optimize our lives. Okay? That's not us. I guarantee you that you are always doing something. Okay? You need to check, not you, Tabitha. Okay, I know that was your question, but you need to check where that laziness and undeserving is coming from. Because I'm going to tell you like a little story. Okay, so I have been watching this TV show called Suits, which I love. I don't know if anybody else watches that, but great. Watched it back in the day, forgot how good it was. It's very 3D, which is fine. Okay, it's very like drama and like, you know, just whatever. Very 3D, and I have been feeling very burnt out and exhausted because I'm also going through ascension symptoms right now. And my higher self has been like, hey, just because you don't see, you know, external stuff shifting out here, you don't know what I'm doing back here. Okay, you're getting all these adjustments and alignments and consciousness jumps and stuff. Like, just because you don't see with your 3D physical eyes, don't act like I'm not doing stuff back here. Okay? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to chill out and watch these TVs because my actual physical body needs rest. Like my physical vessel needs to lay down and not do anything at all. Okay. And my higher self chimed in and she was like, hey, we've been watching a lot of that TV show and your magic container is on 0% right now. Okay. We are running on fumes. And she was like, how about we go watch this other thing that's super magical? And I kept on ignoring her. And I was like, no, I've been watching Suits. I'm going to watch that, you know, all this stuff. And then I said, you know what? No. I was like, I'm not going to ignore what my intuition is saying. There is a reason. And the old identity, like old Sage, would be like, no, I like this and we're just going to do what we're going to do. I had to step in as a multidimensional self, as a higher self, because at that point I'm taking on her energetics. I'm becoming her in making that decision. I said, no, we're going to turn it on. So I turned on the other show, still resting, okay? And I felt like a completely different person. Completely different person. I was like, oh my God, my magic has been like turned off. Okay, for like the last couple of weeks because of the ascension process. And sometimes your higher self will beat you down into resting. There'd be no downloads coming in. There'd be no new ideas, no intuition, nothing. because you are not taking care of yourself. And they were like, why do you need to know that stuff if you can't function? Okay. I have been through that time and time again, and I get it. It's very frustrating, but sometimes the answer is literally like, you just need to lay down. Okay, because it is making forward movement. Like, we're not just sitting in the bed for 19 hours a day, okay? That's not what we're doing. But sometimes your actual body literally just needs to be in the bed. Okay, this is for my very extremely motivated people. You cannot be extremely motivated 24/7. Okay, that leads out to burnout and capitalistic tendencies and all that stuff that we're trying to pull away from. So maybe you do need to take a salt bath. Maybe that salt bath, you take that and you feel like a brand new person, and then the ideas start flowing again. This is where we're switching our manifesting style from hustle, grind, like masculine type of energy of like all these action steps to, you know what? I need to be in vibrational alignment and before I decide to take those action steps. So like my physical body comes before my shame and guilt of not enoughness and trying to push myself beyond what I can do right now. Right? I see this all the time with empaths and lightworkers where they're like, I'm not doing enough. And then we'll have a conversation like in a session, and I'll be like, okay, well, what are you doing? And they will tell me 1,000 million things that they're doing, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what more could you be doing? Like, tell me now, what more could you be doing? And they're like, I don't think I can be doing anything more. I'm like, exactly. Okay, you are not a lazy person by going to lay down and watching Netflix for an hour. Okay. Or going on a walk, taking time for yourself. You cannot help other people if you are, zero energy. Okay, and there's a difference between physical energy and spiritual energy. Those are two completely different things. That's like when I was talking about like, oh, my physical body was done. Okay, my magic, done. Those are two different things. I'm the same person, like all one whole being, but there's a lot of people that are running low on magic fumes right now. Does that make sense? Because, just 3D life will be that way sometimes. So you got to refill that cup back up, because life gets real heavy and sludgy and feeling very doom and gloom when your magic cup is running on empty. Okay. But we forget that. Right? We forget how important that is, especially if you're a business owner, like a spiritual business owner, because there's like so much, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, like you don't have employees right now. Like I don't have employees right now. It's just me. There's so many like 3D things that you have to take care of that it kind of sucks your magic well dry. So you have to make sure and like combat that. Okay, even though it's a great thing to be your own boss and spiritual business owner or whatever, you got to combat the heavy stuff over here. Okay, I'm gonna go back up here because y'all been commenting. Okay, I've had the ascension symptoms before, but this past weekend, it was like, here's a bunch at once. Yeah, you're probably just getting like a huge, massive upgrade, especially because you and I, Tabitha, have been talking about you making so many like changes in your consciousness. Like if you're working on your self-concept, which you've been working on, not to put your business out there, okay, but you're probably shifting into a completely different person. Like you probably jumped lots of different timelines all at one time. So our physical vessel is gonna have to like catch up. Right? The more shift that you make all at once, the more your physical body has to catch up. So you can kind of take that barometer with you. Okay? So if I'm having the worst ascension symptoms that I have ever experienced, that means that I completely shifted into a new identity, because it's doing like a doozy on your body. Okay? But also, like I said, I'm not a medical doctor, so make sure we don't have the flu. Okay. Okay, let's see. Do you need to fully heal yourselves in order to help others? I would say no. I would say kind of. Okay, yes and no. I always say that we can't really help somebody fully unless you have healed that within yourself, because you're like a mentor and a guide at that point. However, right, so like if we're turning a blind eye to something in our life, okay, not saying that's what you're doing, just as an example, if we're turning a blind eye to something, okay, and then we're trying to help somebody else, you're not at the consciousness level to be able to help them fully. You're probably just like regurgitating stuff back to one another, and nobody's growing at that point, okay? But if you're like actively working on things, when that's one of the things I loved about becoming an energy healer and a coach, because every time that I would have a session with somebody, it was somebody that was a younger version of me energetically, or like very close to similar experiences, because that's how it works. You pull people in that are similar to you, okay? Similar lessons, similar journeys, similar energetics. And so every time I gave a healing session to somebody else, I'm literally talking to them and that's mirroring back to younger me, showing me how much I've grown. And through talking to that person, I'm like understanding my own concepts better and healing myself at the same time. And then I shift forward. And so like the things that I used to help people with, completely different than what I help people with now. Like I used to help people like with very heavy trauma stuff, reprogramming their subconscious, but doing it more on like the human side of themselves, and helping teach people how to become empowered empaths and light workers. It was just heavier energy, okay? But by helping them, I helped myself shift. And then I started teaching and helping with different things. So like it is your greatest mirror to be able to help other people heal through what you were healing, as long as you are working on those things yourself. So that means that I had to be very accountable while I'm coaching and healing people, because like I can't help and heal them if I'm not looking at my own shadows. So that's like, even when I make content, like on my TikTok or my YouTube, I watch every single video back. Like I'm gonna watch this one back, because accountability, it helps me understand myself on a deeper level, and it heals all of my inner children and my past versions, because I'm literally talking to them. Because all of the clients that I pull in are younger versions of me. And so they are just getting it back over and over and over again. And that is how I've accelerated my healing journey. So if you have been wanting to make content, I highly recommend that for your own healing journey. Even if it's for nobody else and just you, a great way to make content, if you kind of have an imposter syndrome about that a little bit and saying like, oh, I don't know if I know enough for other people, don't talk to a general audience. Talk to younger you. I had a coach one time tell me that, and it completely revolutionized the way that I do things. So like, I don't outwardly say in my content like, oh, hey, younger me, which I have done in the past though, but I will be like, okay, what would me a year ago or 6 months ago or yesterday need to hear? And I just talk to her in the camera. And when I do that, it pulls in clients that are on a similar path and journey as me, and it's very easy to help people that way because they're just younger versions of me, but it also energetically heals me at the same time. It's almost like making your own Reiki or light language video. Mine are just subconscious mindset reprogramming videos. So I'm constantly hearing my own concepts and my own teachings and expanding upon those by listening to myself and saying, "Ooh, maybe I could tweak this. Ooh, I didn't really like how I said that," right? Or like, "Ooh, maybe should talk about this instead." Like, it's a great way to evolve as a being and a person to do that. And you don't have to do that. That's just like if you're a content creator or wanting to get into content. But highly recommend. Okay. Yeah, I'll be going off on tangents. Okay. Thank you, Michaela. I appreciate that. Thank you for your beautiful comment. Thank you. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Whoop. Okay, y'all, there's so many comments. There's like so many comments. If y'all want to put more new comments in the thing, because there's just so many to go through. I apologize, especially if some people aren't in here anymore. I want to make sure I get the people that are in here. So if y'all want to put new comments in, Feel free, okay? I was like, oh, that's a lot. Have a great day, Tabitha. I hope you feel better. I hope your ascension symptoms ease up on you. A salt bath. Definitely take a salt bath. Like, salt baths can help. Like, take a salt bath. Okay. And Tanya, in the cosmic community, she was like, hey, if you take a salt bath, you actually need to have like a cup of salt in there. Because I was putting like a little bit. She was like, you have to have a whole cup in there. Okay. And listening to dolphin and whale sounds while you're in the bathtub, like, and asking the dolphin and whale consciousness to pull that energy, like the stuck and stagnant energy, out of your body and help you with those ascension symptoms. They love helping with that. You will feel so much different. Okay. And asking the water while you're in it to pull stuck and stagnant energy off and let it go down the drain. Like, you can make it a whole energy healing experience on yourself. But the dolphins and whales will definitely help you with that. Okay. I'm very interested in becoming a spiritual life coach and learning more about what it involves. Oh, that's cool, Melissa. Do you want a piece of advice for that? If you would like. I don't want to overstep into your business, but if you would like, I can give you a piece of advice about where to start. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Danton. I hope everything goes well with the pregnancy coming up. I know that's very heavy to have like a loss like that. So praying for you and your family. Melissa, okay, so if you want to be a coach, a lot of times people, like when I'm talking to new coaches and healers, are like, well, I don't exactly know what I want to help people with. I just know I want to help people, which is great. We love that. We love compassion and wanting to be of service, okay? But we can't help with everything because we cannot be an expert in everything. And you don't want to help everybody with everything. Like, there's a lot of things in my business that I don't enjoy doing or talking about and are not my area of expertise. So as a spiritual coach, right, it's not the same as like a licensed practitioner. Okay, hold on one second. I need to poop somebody out of here. Okay, so it's not exactly like a licensed psychologist. Okay, so people come to life coaches or spiritual coaches because they're coming to you because you have a real world experience with whatever they're going through. Okay, not that licensed psychologists don't either, right? A lot of them do, but psychologists, sometimes they have to work in these certain like parameters and can't talk about certain things, or like there's like can't talk about personal experiences. If you and I are working together, we're going to have a very open container conversation, and we're just going to talk about how my life experience might apply to yours and the tools and resources that I picked up to get to where I'm at, right? So what in your life experience have you been through? Like, there are many different things that I help people with that are very specific for my experience. So what I would suggest to do is get out a sheet of paper or a Google Docs, okay, and write out your whole entire life story, like as much as you possibly can remember. That's going to be very triggering, just to let you know, because it's going to be going through a lot of old stuff. It's going to bring up a lot of emotions, but you probably need to do that anyway. Okay. And maybe not. You might be like, wow, I am so knowledgeable and so wise. Look at all these things that I have lived and grown through. I'm amazing. And I have a lot to offer the world. Like, when you do that and you list out like all the challenges that you've gone through, all the consciousness expansion, all the beliefs that you've, let go of, the relationships that you've worked through, it's like, oh wow, like I can help people with X, Y, Z. It literally gives you a complete outline of all your skill sets. Now, can you improve on those? For sure. Right? But it will give you a good like foundational base of like, oh, well, I can help people with people pleasing, or holding boundaries, or learning how to be an empowered empath, light worker. I can help people with timeline shifting, if that's something you figured out how to do. You know what I mean? I'm already doing that for the past 3 years. I've been going through an awakening. Love. I've been in hermit mode for over a year. Now listen, when you do that, just because you can help with somebody with something doesn't mean you should. Okay? Because I used to help people with very heavy stuff, because I was also in that phase of my life. So if I were to look at that whole list of everything that I had gone through in my life, I don't want to reach back 15 years ago and help people with that stuff, because I'm so far removed in consciousness from who I was back then. So if I were to help people with that stuff, right? Not, you know, I still help people with stuff sometimes with things, so not a blanket statement, but if I'm curating my spiritual business around that old identity, then I will stay stuck there. So I help people that are closer to me in consciousness. Like, I help people with their self-concept now and stepping into their confidence, and like they're expanding their magic, okay, and starting their businesses and things like that. But I don't go that far back. The reason I said to do that activity is probably because you need it for confidence and self-esteem. As far as like, oh yeah, I do have a lot of things I can help people with. Let me cherry pick the things that bring me the most joy and that I feel the most knowledgeable in, and start there. But that doesn't mean you gotta be helping with everything, if that makes sense. Like, we want to be helping with things that also keep us light vibrationally and don't keep us in old identities that you've already worked through. I'm very interested in helping people with energy healing and mindset coaching. Yeah, so cultivating a list like that will show you where have you already healed yourself, right? You can, Thomas, I'm going to answer your question in just a second. You probably already been an energy healer. Like, a lot of energy healers that I come across, like, you've been out here doing it already, you're just not consciously aware of it. And sometimes people are like, oh, well, I need a modality, or I like, sure, that's fine. But you've probably been a healer for many different incarnations. So sometimes those modalities that you're chasing are a permission slip. Not saying modalities aren't great. Okay? Like, modalities are great. Like, I'm a Reiki practitioner, I'm an Akashic record reader. Those are different frequency channels of which you are tapping into. Just like oracle cards, tarot, astrology, they're all different frequencies, but you are a healer at a soul level. It doesn't matter what modality that you choose. Like, coaching's a modality, okay, that I utilize, but that's not representative of me as a whole soul. That's just a lens that I work through, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, make that list so you can just see for your own self-concept of like, oh, I'm already a healer. Oh, I can be a coach already. Like, before I went down the track to become a coach and an energy healer, I already said I am. I'm a coach, I'm an energy healer. Like, I started telling people that before I even believed it myself. And then all of a sudden I was. And then I had the realization, oh dang, I've always been this person. Not just in this incarnation, many far back. And as soon as I accepted that about myself, everything in my life shifted in my business and the clientele that I bring in. Because you can't pull in what you're not a resonant frequency match for and what you don't believe within yourself. So as soon as you say, yep, I'm this person, that's when you're like off to the races, because all your channels start to open up. The channels are closed a little bit sometimes because of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So if you can work through that, it vastly opens up at an accelerated rate. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Make that just for your own, right? Like, oh wow, look at me. Like, I've been energy healing myself the whole entire time. I'm a completely different person than I was 10, 15, 20 years ago. You did that. Nobody else did that. You did that. You did. Okay? I know that there's a lot of people that help us and support us and love us. They are all reflections of you. They are all you. Okay? So you've been out here evolving yourself. Okay? And through other reflections of self. So that's your indicator, like, oh yeah, I am ready. This is me. Okay? I wanted to be a medium, so I started to believe in myself. Yeah. A lot of these, excuse me, a lot of these gifts that people want to get into or are blocked is because you have subconscious mindset programming telling you that magic's not real, or that it's evil, or you're going to go to hell, or, you know, whatever, or you're going to be some cuckoo witch lady. Okay, so we got to work through that. But then the other thing is saying like, oh yeah, magic's real. Oh yeah, I am a very powerful healer. There's a reason all my friends come to me all the time for advice, and their lives are better because they know me. Okay? Like, oh yeah, I'm a very skilled conversationalist, and I can always pick up on what's going on with other people, whether they say it or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason for that. So once you give yourself permission and work through that programming stuff or trauma, sometimes you got, I was talking to somebody earlier in here about if you have trauma as a child, sometimes that is running energetics of fear of persecution or fear of exposure or fear of being seen. Like, that stuff's got to be looked at too, because those are all things that will create filter lenses in between you and your spiritual gifts. That's why some people have a hard time hearing their intuition and their higher self, or they're trying to develop like mediumship gifts or get into the records or Reiki and it's like not coming through. It's usually because of one of those things. Okay. Thomas, I'm trying to go back up here. Okay, I'd love to hear your take on soul family, twin flames. How do you view those things? Okay, so if we back it up like further, it's all, you know, like you in different lenses and different perceptions, different experiences. So we were talking about karmic relationships earlier, that like karmic relationships are different than regular relationships. Okay, it's like y'all signed up to help each other grow and evolve in some type of way, right? So just because you have a karmic relationship with somebody in this incarnation and you clear that out, maybe y'all are going to meet in some other type of dynamic later on. Okay, like there's certain people that come from a similar like soul sect, if you will, and that kind of like travel around together in different instances, right? When I have met karmic relationships or soul tribe members, when I meet them, I'm like, I know you. I know you from beyond. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good. Okay, not good. Like the tumultuous relationship that I was in, that was a huge karmic relationship. Very not good in the beginning, great now. Okay, very good, like co-parents with one another now. Okay, but like it's you have worked together before in some type of capacity, right? And sometimes people have to take on the okay, this is a great thing to go watch. Okay, before I say this, I'm going to preface this with I do not condone any type of abusive behavior. Okay, this is not that conversation. Okay, we need to stay safe and protected. This is not what I'm referring to. Okay, I just want to say that disclaimer. Now, some people sign up to be the villain in your story so that you can grow and evolve. Okay, because they love you very deeply and karmically beyond here, they said, I will be that person for you. There is this YouTube video and it's called Little Soul in the Sun, and I'm gonna put it here in the chat, okay? In the Sun. It's like 13 minutes long. You find it on YouTube. It kind of like goes into that, right? And this is where I might lose some people, okay? but again, some people sign up to help you grow into who you came here to be by triggering you and making you step into your empowered self, right? So like if I look back at that relationship or some other relationships that I've had, not just even like romantic relationships, but like friendships and stuff, I could see where if I hadn't have entered into that relationship, I would still be in old identities and not be the person that I am right now. And when you look at a bigger level, like esoteric level of like, oh, that person is actually a different reflection of me, and I might have been that person to somebody else in this incarnation or a different incarnation. Like, how do you know that you weren't that person? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you have to check self. Not again, this is not talking about scary situations. Okay, this is like karmic lessons and stuff. Okay, but you got to ask yourself, like, was that me? How is this helping me grow? What did I learn from this? Maybe I was really poor at setting boundaries, and this person helped me learn how to set boundaries, right? And then sometimes, like, karmic relationships are like, they help you, like, they're your biggest hype person. They love you. They're like here to help you like grow and evolve in a very like ease and grace way, right? Like, I have 2 of my soul tribe members who like I have just completely turned into a whole different person by knowing them. Like, they are absolutely amazing and different than most of the relationships I've ever had. And they're karmic relationships. Like, as soon as I met them, I was like, oh, I know you from before. As soon as I met them. Okay, and we just like, oh, right? Okay. Yeah, Little Soul in the Sun. Definitely recommend checking that out. You're lucky to have met them. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so blessed. I will tell you, to meet my soul tribe members, I had a lot of people around me that were not able to come with me to the new timeline and to the new sage, to the new me, because those people that I pulled in, like old relationships that were not good, it wasn't their fault. It was the resonant frequency that I was on, that I pulled them in. So like, I had very low self-concept and low self-esteem because of like trauma stuff and all this stuff. So I'm pulling in people that are also on that vibrational level, right? So when I started to shift, I shifted all the people around me. I also had to say no to a lot of relationships and had to cut a lot of relationships out. And it was a very lonely period in my life. It was a very intense dark night of the soul. I had nobody except for my son, because I was turning a blind eye for so long to my trauma and my self-love, that me, as the universe, okay, my higher self was like, okay, you want to keep ignoring what you have asked to become a new person, to have a new life, but you're not doing the things that you need to do, so here we go. Okay. And it was like a very intensive dark night of the soul, okay, for a long time. And I see now, though, that had to happen, because I had to reach this place in myself that was like, okay, well, if I don't have anybody, I love myself and I can be my best friend. I have to cut out all this stuff to go to this new life. And then when I got on the other side of that dark night of the soul is when my soul tribe members started coming in. If you want super high vibe soul tribe members that are like on their stuff, super self-aware, you know, doing all this stuff, you got to be that person too. And I'm not saying we can be high vibe, okay? That's like very whatever, okay? Because like that's tossed around too much. But like, if you what I recommend for people, like if you want to bring in your soul tribe members, or a relationship, or like a good job opportunity, whatever, okay? Like, we just want to upgrade in life, get out a sheet of paper and write down all the qualities that you want in a romantic relationship, that you want in a friendship, that you want in a job. Okay, just as much detail as you possibly can. Like, I want a good communicator. I want somebody who's adventurous. I want somebody who is good with their finances. I want, you know, all this stuff. That is going to be a mirror for you to say, is this me? Because I have done that in the past, and I'm looking at this list and I'm like, oh, I'm not exactly this person, so how am I going to call in somebody that's that way? You cannot. You will pull in people that help you shift into that person, right? So you can circumvent and bypass a lot of that stuff if you just be really honest with yourself and look at that list and say, where do I need to work on this? Because you can either work on it with somebody or you can work on it with you, right? And sometimes it's real chaotic when you're trying to work on that with other people. But then also, like, when you make that list, you might look at it and be like, wow, I am this person. Look at me. Like, I am super self-aware and I'm always working on my growth journey, and I am very confident and self-assured. Okay, and look at me, like, celebration. Okay, we can always work on things, but there's a lot of people that are working on their self-concept of like thinking that they're not enough, and you got to remind yourself that you are, because we're all out here over analyzing ourselves, okay, and saying like, and you're not the same person that you were in the past. Okay, I still have to do that to this day. Be like, hey, you need to remember who you are. Okay, and stop sitting over here analyzing yourself 24/7, saying like, oh, well, maybe if I had this conversation, or if I said this or that, and like, ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. That is different than somebody who's not self-aware. Okay, but sometimes we like to try and trick ourselves into being like, oh, you know, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not enough, or I'm not self-aware, or you know, whatever. Like, that's not you. Okay. I'm gonna go back up here. Create a vision board for yourself. Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite things to share with people is to get, because vision boards, okay, love vision boards. The issue with vision boards and people that are neurospicy, okay, you put that board up on your wall and then you forget about it. Like, it'll be like literally right there, and I will just like, it's an illusion. Okay, like object permanence, okay, right out the window. So, and you can't add into it, because sometimes things fall out of resonance with you. Like, I have a vision board literally that's sitting over here from like years ago, and there's some things on there that I'm like, that's not really in alignment with me, with who I am right now, right? And so I suggest making a Pinterest board. A Pinterest board you can put all types of like images and videos into, and you can take out what doesn't resonate. And you can get very clear on the identity that you're moving into. Like, very much fine tune that. Because you're like, let's say you have like 2 houses that you really like. You're like, I kind of like this one a little bit more. Let me take that other one out. I kind of like how this picture makes me feel a little bit more than this one. Let me take that other one out. And you get crystal clear on what it is that you're actually working towards and what brings you joy and happiness. It doesn't even have to be tangible things. Like, I just have so many random things in my Pinterest board, like frogs. A lot of frogs. Okay, because frogs make me happy. They make me laugh. And so it's more about finding the vibrational frequency that you're trying to move into. So maybe yours is like pictures of glitter. Maybe it's, you know, funky shoes. Like, it doesn't have to be tangible things like goals that you're working on necessarily. You can just be like, hey, this makes me feel like me. Right? Because when you're making a Pinterest board like that, your whole outer reality will start to mimic what you're putting in your Pinterest board. Because what you place energy and attention into is what you get more of, right? So if you're putting magical, fun, whimsical things and being like, oh, this could be me, this is going to be me. Like, this is my life. I need to prep and prepare. I need to figure out what my home's going to look like and my dream car and like all these things. Okay, your outer experience is going to start to bring you those things, because your subconscious has a job now. It's like, ooh, you like this? Let me bring you more of this. Okay, that's how it works. You focus on negativity, you get more negativity. You focus on, this is my preferred identity that I want to be, then you get that. Right? Frogs in my patio plant smaller than sesame seeds. Oh, cute. I would love to see tiny frogs like that. There have been so many frogs like everywhere outside. Wow, I have been doing that on Pinterest. I didn't know it would do that. Yeah, now because you've already been doing it, like, set the intention behind it. Intentions are very powerful. And be like, this is the new me. This is the new identity that I am shifting into. And so now every time you put a picture in there, it's going to like amplify that energy so much, because you're consciously, intentionally doing it now. Right? Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to see if I missed anything up here. Plus, it's a little more fun because it's more active instead of just like having something like kind of like up on the wall. You know what I mean? Which is, if that's what you like to do, there's like no shade to that. Okay, just that doesn't work for everybody, so I like to give different options. But that has been a great resource for me. Okay, everybody, I've been on here for a hot minute now. If y'all want to follow me, I would greatly appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube as well. The replay of this is also going to be on my YouTube channel, so it's Soul Harmony Magic. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe so you can see when new content comes out. If you like my vibe, you like my personality and my teachings, and you're like, I would really love to work with Sage, I would love to work with you too. You can go to the description box here below for all the different ways, or you can go to my profile and click and schedule a session there. I do private coaching, Akashic record readings, I have a mentorship program. I would also love for y'all to join me in the cosmic community. So the cosmic community, we are light workers who are very motivated towards achieving our goals, okay? Because I like to explain to people that when you are a light worker, a lot of times you don't have other light workers around you. You be in isolation land on the islands, okay? And no shade to anybody that's like 3D, right? More in the 3D land. That's totally fine because they keep us grounded, okay? But if you are a global change maker that is a light worker that works on the energetic side of things, if you don't have other people around you that get that, it can feel very isolating, and they don't exactly understand your vision because they don't understand like what's going on in the collective grid and with timeline shifting energy. And so that's what this group is for. It's like we all get together and do group coaching and brainstorming with one another, so you get support from other people that are on that forward momentum train, right? I also pour tons of resources in there. We have a grand old time, okay? So if y'all would like to join us, that is also in the description box down here below, or you can find the information in my profile. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm gonna do this again soon. I had a lot of fun. I hope something super abundant and magical happens to you, and I am sending you all the sparkly fairy love today. Bye. If I can find the off button. Bye, y'all.